Katie, did you like Wonder Woman? Yeah!
Hello and welcome to the Invincible podcast, probably the best superhero podcast in the universe. This is a show where friends get to sit around and talk all things Invincible, a comic book by Robert Kirkman. We talk about, past issues, new issues. Sometimes we talk about tie-ins, like on today's episode, where we're going to be finally finishing our discussion all about the Brit Tie-In series. And joining me for that is Bill.
Hello, Ryan, and Invincible fans.
Invincible fans out there.
Yeah.
Man, when did we do Brit Volume 2?
Is that the one that we had to do twice?
I think that was the one we did.
No,
yeah.
we did the first one twice.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
It
was in here. It was maybe 2 months ago?
It was a little more than that, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, now that issues are coming out pretty regularly, and on top of that, we've got the new readers catching up. They're almost done. Hopefully next week we'll have new reader volume 11, which will be pretty much bringing them up to date. But yeah, we haven't sat down to talk Brit in a while.
Should we recap?
We'll recap a little bit. I don't think there's anything as far as news in the Invincible universe going on right now.
Well, we have news. TJ's been...
Yeah, TJ's not here because he is in California right now at Kind of Funny Live. He got to go down and he met with Greg Miller, and he's been talking about the podcast with a bunch of the kind of funny community and everything. So if you're a new listener because you've found us through that, welcome. This is a weird episode to jump into because go back and listen to Brit Volume 1, Brit Volume 2. I've been thinking about this a lot lately, and whereas a lot of other podcasts out there, you can kind of jump into any random old episode. I kind of view our podcast as kind of a unofficial DVD commentary track. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
to
a lot
specific
of
things.
A lot of people who have said, they jumped in, they're almost caught up. Like they're smart. They go back and they listen to which is hard because the first
they were talking about us again on the Nerds Chatting podcast where they one of them, I think it was Nate, had just started listening to us, and he went back to our first one to listen to, which is a little rough.
Oh yeah, it's pretty rough around the edges.
I mean, I think most people's first episode can be a little rough.
Anything, really.
Well, true. But I think the thing is, if you're a new reader, if you're just getting into Invincible, we've got our new reader series, and you can, those all tie in together. You can stick with just those. You don't need to.
Why do you have to plug the new reader when everybody already likes those more?
Oh, I know. But I was just about to say, though, there's also, if you're reading all the new issues, go back and, read the new issues with us. Read the most current ones, and we have discussions all about those. Or, like this, if you're reading Brit, or if you didn't read Brit and you want to know what happened in Brit, that's what we're here for. So,
yeah, I mean, luckily, Brit is a pretty prevalent, nailed it. Prevalent character, reoccurring character in the Invincible universe. So, I think even more so than Wolfman, because we do the Wolfman tie-in series as well. I do want to do the Tech Jacket.
Especially after reading this volume, I was even more interested in Tech Jacket and the Galdarians and everything like that, because I didn't know much about Tech Jacket. What else was there? Oh, after this, I mean, Guarding the Globe, Invincible Universe. I mean, Capes will be kind of a one episode kind of discussion, but yeah, we're all about talking about the Invincible Universe and everything else that's going on, especially now that new readers are going to be caught up. We're going to have more time for all these tie-ins, expanding on what, on this whole Invincible Universe, and it's, fun to talk about. So,
except for the last volume of Brit.
You mean Volume 2?
Yeah, that was the opposite of fun to get through. That was tough.
It was tough. Speaking of, Volume 2, and before we get into that, feel free to email us. If there's a specific tie-in you want us to talk about, if there's something you think we should be doing different, or, you just want to tell us how you found Invincible and want to share with us, you can email us at theinvinciblepodcast@gmail.com. You can follow us on Twitter, and we're on Facebook.
You know what will be kind of fun?
What?
Is we're going to eventually run out of content to discuss.
Yeah.
There's always stuff. You read the tie-ins
yeah.
and the movie, and if a video game comes out, there's going to be a lot of Invincible. I'm not talking about like in the foreseeable future.
Yeah, but eventually,
But eventually, for sure. I think that it would be fun if we had fans email us a random topic that they want us to do an episode on.
Well, that's the thing. We don't do a lot of just general topics, which is what I was kind of talking about before, where a lot of what we do right now is kind of that special feature DVD commentary kind of thing. But we know
a lot of things about a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and we can talk. I mean, that's part of the reason why we started this podcast. We can talk about just Invincible.
We would like to.
Yeah, just random stuff. That kind of brings me to, we have an email from Luke Lizaldi. Or Lizald? Is that Lizaldi? Or how would you pronounce that?
Lizald.
Lizald? Luke Lizald. He says, "Hey, Ryan, Bill, and TJ. First off, I looked at the most recent issue, and I can say I did not like it. I loved it. Ryan said he spent 2 months on this issue, and I can see why. This is a masterpiece. Ryan's inking is amazing. I love the variation in the line weights. The detail on each panel made me stop and take in all the Ottley goodness. I think it's safe to say Ryan really enjoyed drawing this issue." I have to agree with with Luke saying that like you have to stop and like take it in. That last issue was so intense that there was a lot to.
Yeah, we talked about. We read it multiple times, each of us.
Luke continues. Second, I was listening to episode 1 of the podcast, and you guys were talking about how Kirkman had to make something happen with Shane in The Walking Dead to keep the book fresh. To add to that, I heard from a previous Kirkman interview that at the time, Jim Valentino was the publisher at Image Comics. Robert was telling him how bad he had this big idea for issue 25 Invincible of how Omni-Man would turn on everyone, and Jim Valentino told him, "You won't have an issue 8 if you don't get to it." So needless to say, the Omni-Man reveal happened much earlier. Can you imagine the Omni-Man turn on everybody being in issue 25?
I think we knew about that. Didn't we know about that?
We knew that, I think what Luke is referring to is when we talked about how the Shane moment in Walking Dead happened earlier than Kirkman would have naturally done because he saw that because he saw what happened by taking too long with the Omni-Man.
With Invincible.
And that was issue, like, what was that, 7?
7.
Yeah.
No, we got this wrong last time, too. Is there 7 issues in volume 1 of Walking Dead, or is it 6?
I think we thought it was 7, but it was 6.
I think it's 6.
Yeah.
So even if it's 7, it's still way earlier.
But either way, 25. Can you imagine if he would have waited till 25? I don't think that would have worked.
I mean, I get why someone would want to do that, in terms of like,
here's a big moment.
Yeah, people investing in this character for 2 years, more than 2 years. Could you imagine 2 years into the comic and then Omni-Man being bad?
Yeah,
but I feel like it would almost feel forced or contrived by then.
You would have known so much about that character. He would have had to have made everything that character had done make sense.
That would have been hard.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad he did what he did. And then Luke says, finally, please consider making this podcast a weekly podcast. It is one of my favorite podcasts. I wish there was just more of it. Thank you, Ryan, Bill, and TJ for putting this together. It puts a smile on my face and gives me something to look forward to on every other Friday. Best, Luke from Los Angeles. As far as going weekly, that would be awesome. We'd love it. I love almost all the podcasts I listen to are weekly podcasts. It's one of those things that there's a few reasons. One is finding the time. If you include the girls on this podcast, there's 5 of us. It can be a little confusing getting everybody together to record. I know a lot of podcasts out there will record over Skype and everything like that, but we like doing it in person. And, organizing it, making sure everybody has read, what it is we're talking about. There's the whole thing with when an issue comes out. Not to mention back when we first started this podcast, there were a lot of delays in Invincible. So there was months would go by without a new, issue to talk about. And
unfortunately, we all have, imagine 5 grown-ups with like lives
full-time
and jobs, you know what I mean, and
families
kids and stuff. It's difficult. We
Again,
would love to.
I'd love to do it weekly. That'd be awesome.
I love to listen to myself. You know what I mean? So listen to myself weekly as opposed to bi-weekly would be great.
Of course. On top of that, as we kind of already mentioned on this episode, content. We don't want to blow through all this too fast. If we did weekly, in a matter of months, we'd be, the girls would be caught up. We'd be done with all the tie-ins. I kind of like the schedule that we're at. As the podcast continues, we will, dive into more things, talk about other stuff and kind of expand. But right now we're kind of enjoying the schedule we're at. I mean, right now we've got this Brit Volume 3. We're finishing this discussion on Brit. Hopefully next episode's going to be the girls reading Volume 11. And then after that, we're going to have a new issue. I kind of like the schedule that there's always something new to talk about. We never really have to deal with filler. I never wanted to come into, do the podcast and us be like, what are we going to talk about? And that gets tough. And, we want to make this better. And not only that, but we do pretty long episodes. I don't want to break them in half just to do like a half hour every week, like a part 1, part 2 kind of thing. I'd rather give you guys good quality, long, in-depth stuff that, is worth your time. That's pretty much it.
I agree. And unless we create some sort of, off week, quick topic, like a fan topic,
and
you know
Luke,
what I mean?
Trust me, I've tried to figure out ways that we can make this weekly. Like maybe, TJ lives a little bit closer to me than Bill. Maybe me and TJ get together on every other week just to talk like 15, 20 minutes about something random, just to kind of fill it in.
Yeah,
sorry,
that's
Bill.
cool. No,
but you know what I mean? Like I've tried to think of the easiest, quickest way to just put something out. But again, I don't know if that's what we want to do. We'll see. We're always changing and trying to improve on things. So we'll think about it some more.
Yeah, nothing's set in stone. You know what I mean? We're still in the infancy of the podcast. So we're always open to some cool ideas and we'll take,
exactly.
anything you guys got. All right,
so let's get into this. So Brit Volume 2 ended. Now, we didn't like Brit Volume 2 that much.
I don't think at all.
I mean, it had its moments. It had some really cool ideas. The art was awesome. I really like Cliff Rathburn stuff. It felt like it was trying to do too much. You know what it felt like? It felt like a sci-fi story that was doing all these weird tricks without explaining them and and just knowing that you won't understand it. And it was kind of frustrating. It's frustrating when a sci-fi story or a mystery story tells you, shows you so much without telling you anything. You get frustrated. There's a certain level of, disbelief that it's okay that we have to suspend, but it got to the point where it was just like things were happening that didn't make any sense. And there are a few things that never got resolved because I don't think they did make very much sense. But
interestingly, so Volume 3 is not written by the same.
No, it is.
It is. It is.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
Kirkman came in as editor
only for the last issue.
Really?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, it felt like night and day, though.
That's so nuts. Because why wouldn't he answer some of the questions that he put in Volume 2?
Well, I think most of them did get answered. Now, Volume 2 ended with Brittany being injured and in the hospital.
Brittany being Brit's sister.
Yep.
Who's introduced in Volume 2.
Again, I recommend everybody go back and listen to our Volume 2 discussion just to kind of get an idea of what we're talking about here, because we're going to talk as though you've read Volume 1 and 2.
As if Ryan talked about how this book takes too many assumptions and that you understand what's going on.
Oh, yeah.
And that's exactly what we're going to do.
Yeah, pretty much. We do find out that Brittany was visited in the hospital by their brother, who we don't know too much about at the time. We find that the issue ends with someone with, these space travelers these people from another dimension were fleeing from someone called the Emperor. And it turns out that it was Wolfman, Tech Jacket, and Invincible from that other dimension fleeing from Immortal. Not Immortal. Why did I call him Immortal?
The Emperor.
The Emperor.
Immortal was in it.
Yeah, Immortal was in this too. Like, he fought him.
You know what's weird?
What's that?
Is that this is an Invincible from another universe, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or from an alternate dimension or whatever it is. I thought didn't they talk about all the other Invincibles from every other dimension or most dimensions was evil?
Well, they said from most of them. And I think Angstrom went to so many of them. I don't know if he necessarily got all of them, because who knows how many alternate dimensions there are. But it's probably safe to assume that Angstrom gathered all of the evil ones, which goes to explain why this one's still around.
I guess so.
As far as now, when did Becky? So we had these questions about Becky, who was this taser that Brittany
Again,
had.
just assumed. You just assume that you know who Becky is.
And I listened to our Volume 2 discussion, and we had no idea. Mm-hmm. We were so confused on who it was. But putting that out there, you know what? I really liked Volume 3. It answered almost all of our questions that we had, which I cannot believe it did. And I love Cliff Rathburn stepped away afterwards for whatever reason, and Nate Bellegarde came on. I love his artwork. He's the one that did Invincible Presents Adam Eve and Invincible Presents Adam Eve and Rexplode.
Yeah, their lips are
it looks very, it looks like that. I love it. I think it's one of those things that, like Corey Walker, I am familiar with his interpretations of characters that I know. Mm-hmm. So it just looked right. Not only that, but FCO came on to color it, and he was the colorist during Conquest. So the colors are awesome. He was one of my favorite Invincible colorists. So issue 7 starts off. I mean, not only were those changes in the team a thing, but Ryan Ottley was doing covers.
This is absolutely
he did
Ryan
all
Ottley.
the covers in this volume.
Yeah.
So, and they're amazing looking. So right off the bat, this thing already has those 3 things going for it. But we were still wary of the story. We weren't sure how it was going to tie up together. So let's jump into issue 7. Issue 7 came out halfway through the series. Now, we've talked about before how Brit is an ongoing series that was ended. It ended in January of 2009, but we'll get to that when we get to it. So this is issues 7 through 12 in Brit Volume 3 called FUBAR. So the last volume ended with Brit kind of laying down with his wife and son on the couch, and
with them sleeping.
They were sleeping, and he walked in and they were asleep, and he just put his head down. We loved that moment. I remember we were talking about how we really liked that moment. It felt very much like Brit Volume 1. It was a very quiet, peaceful moment. But we were also really confused because earlier in that issue or volume or whatever, someone kidnapped or drugged Jessica.
Yeah,
and we didn't know what happened. No, we didn't know they took the baby.
You didn't
we
know,
just assumed that something maybe happened to their son, but we didn't know at the time. So we're like, what was that? We felt that was super random too.
Yeah.
So, anyways, Brit wakes up in the beginning of issue 7, back at the ladies' room, the strip club that he used to own, which he kind of passed the keys off onto his buddy there. And his buddy kind of talks to him about how, what are you doing here? Why are you sleeping here again? Did something happen? And it kind of flashed back to last night. And there's the moment of him sleeping on the couch. And Jessica freaks out and wakes up because she was under the impression that he was dead. Mm-hmm. Because all of last issue, there's this whole thing with Brit being cloned. And so they have this moment of, she's freaking out. She's not ready for this. He explains to her what happened. But he.
Well, the clone Brit tried making her sign divorce papers and really fucked
shit
with her. He treated her like garbage. Mm-hmm. So she's he's saying, "I'm not dead. Calm down." Mm-hmm. Which I mean, if it were me, I'd be like the same way. I'd be like, Liz, relax. But Liz experienced a time when I was pronounced dead.
Yeah.
And I'm just there, and before there I was asking for a divorce and being crazy. So you kind of understand where Jessica's coming from, throwing pots and pans at him and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. And that whole fight kind of ends with a very calming moment of her just being like they both accept the fact that he's back, he's alive. She's happy he's back, but it's not normal. She's not comfortable seeing him there. So she doesn't want him around. So he goes to sleep at the strip club. Pretty much, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
While he's there, what's her name again? Potts?
The teleporter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She pops in and says it's an emergency. She needs him. And here we get one of the most blatant Invincible references. It's actually Mark and William. They're in New York, right? Because, he says Carnegie Deli. So they're in New York. So I guess it's just supposed to be assumed that they're just visiting
New York.
And I don't think they really give a reason why they're in New York City, but it is. They are. I don't know. Maybe they're there for a concert. Who knows? But anyways, Mark says, sees something. He looks up, sees something, and says, "Whoa, that looks familiar." And then
the crossover.
Yep.
Right.
And then Mark says, "I wonder how he got here." ... So Potts is freaking out, trying to get Brit's attention because she needs help with
Bob.
With Bob, who, and it shows Bob who has spun a web in between two buildings and is wearing and looks. He has blue and red skin and red hair and everything. He looks like Spider-Man. So Mark says, "I think I know that guy."
He's wearing This is funny. He's wearing
nothing.
He's wearing like a thong, like a bathing suit. Because wasn't he wearing that when they were at the beach?
You're right.
He's kind of always wearing it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, no, he was wearing that since they were at the beach and they got teleported around. Because you find out that he got bit by one of those spiders that were in that weird dimension they went to
which
for
was
no
random.
reason.
Right. Which was
So they made a story out of that thing that seemed kind of random. But I love that Mark's referencing Spider-Man because he teamed up with him in the Marvel Team Up issue. So he knows Spider-Man.
And he even doesn't he talk to him in this like he is Spider-Man?
Yeah, he's just saying, he's like, "I think I know that guy." Let's see. So Brit goes up there to try and help him. And Bob's acting all weird. And so Brit realizes that this is some sort of mind possession thing. And they talk about how he was the the spider that they killed in that other dimension, and it is some sort of parasite. And then Mark shows up, and he's like, or now he's dressed as Invincible. He says, "Hey, Spider, oh no, you're not that guy. I think unless you really let yourself go." So yeah, he straight up practically says Spider-Man. I think that was really cool.
Yeah. Because it connects to the Invincible universe in so many different ways.
Yeah, like this is an issue of Brit that is featuring Invincible, Mark, and William, and Mark is referencing a moment in which he went back through a dimension in Invincible 33, I think, with Angstrom Levy, to the Marvel issue where he teamed up with Spider-Man.
Right.
That's why we have this podcast.
We finally got to it.
I think isn't Bob isn't he sick of this body? You know what I mean? Like the spider thing inside him doesn't like the body that he's in, and he's looking for a better one.
He wanted something more powerful.
Yeah. And he makes fun of Mark's costume and everything like that. But anyways, he goes after him, and he jumps at him and just straight up kisses him, and is just like sticking his mouth all over him because he's essentially putting the spider from his body into Mark's. Mark freaks out, turns blue, and then we have a moment where Mark fights Brit. So Invincible is fighting Brit in the first issue. Already, this volume was like awesome. I was like, okay,
right off the bat.
This is cool.
Because we were getting a connection from the last volume that was confusing. Mm-hmm. Oh, well, we didn't know about that yet.
Well, yeah,
but I mean, just
he said it.
Seeing William in like a Brit comic was super cool.
Mm-hmm. Mark throws Brit into a car with a pug in it. It was really funny.
This is funny. Like, if you guys haven't read this, I don't know why you're listening to this now, but there's a part where Mark throws him at a car and he says, "Die," and then Brit's flying through the air, and very typical where he's like, I might be in trouble, as he's careening towards this car and slams into it. There's a pug in there. And so
again, look at that page. The art, the lighting, the way FCO colors this, the angle of the pug in the car as you see Brit flying at the windshield. I love it. It's so cool looking. And then
so what would Brit do? Brit doesn't
when
have
he's in a car.
he would.
Anytime he's in a car, he uses it to propel himself.
Right,
That's what we talked about in the last one. So he manages to drive the car into a building, bringing the building down on top of Invincible.
Well, the whole time too, Invincible's fighting like within himself.
He's
like
kind of fighting, but
it shows
when the building falls on him.
New York.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But anyways, when the building falls on him, you see that Mark. Because the letterer wrote Mark talking in black, and then this creature is talking in red. That's, this parasite talks in red. And, Mark says, Brit, more of that, more distraction, break his concentration. So, Brit throws the car at him, just like he always does. He drives it off a cliff.
Not before tossing the puppy out.
Of course.
Yeah.
And I love it. You see, Brit's flying through the windshield. The car is crushing Invincible. And then, what was it? Why does Potts say that she found Becky? I don't remember.
She just hesitated. It's where he landed.
Did he ask for?
No, he didn't. He didn't say anything about it.
Let me see. I feel like he did ask for Becky. Yeah, Brit says, I need you to get someone for me. And then that's it. It cuts away to Potts. And then she shows up and says, I found her. And he said, thanks. The kid's been hijacked by some brain spider. And then she starts teleporting all these cars on top of Invincible,
awesome.
Right? And that's when Mark, he picks up a car, slams it on top of Brit, but then Brit uses Becky to zap Mark. And that's what does it. That's ultimately what it is. So right now, we've got a reference to Becky again. We still don't know who or what she is, but it's this weird electrical current in a taser and causes Mark to vomit out this spider parasite.
And Fruit Loops.
Thing. Oh, you're right. Those are Fruit Loops. For some reason, I thought that was part of it.
I thought it was part of the spider, too, until I looked at it, and I'm like, oh, no, that's Fruit Loops.
That's kind of gross.
Yeah.
And then Brit steps on the spider. And they sit down on the bench and have a great conversation. I love how Mark says, no. They're talking about, how things are so weird. And Brit says, it just gets stranger and stranger. You'll do fine. You remind me of your dad in the good old days. Better, I think. And Mark says, you knew my dad? And Brit says, back in the day, we saved the world a few times. Locked me in a safe once and tossed me in the ocean. When you're old enough, I can buy you a beer and tell you all about it. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. Because there's this whole period in which Omni-Man was a superhero for the world before he
for years.
Before we got to know him. Think of this. Omni-Man was a superhero when he met Debbie. He, before he worked with the Guardians and then while he worked for the Guardians, we don't know anything about that period, very much. We don't know very much about that period right up until Mark turned 18 or whatever. So there's at least 18 years.
What if we got a crossover with that? Could you imagine? Because there's a bunch of stuff with the Viltrumite Empire that could have happened. Stuff that would be nuts.
I've wanted for so long more OG Guardian stories, like their Darkwing, their was it the Red Rush, their War Woman, all their Justice League counterparts, more stories with them in the Invincible universe. I always thought that would be cool. So anyways, the issue wraps up with Brit talking to Brittany on the phone, who's sick of being in the hospital, wants Brit to come and pick her up, and she's attacked by who, Bill?
She's attacked by the random aliens that were buying cats.
Yes.
In Volume 2 and giving drug addicts or skinheads these little alien things that were like drugs.
Yeah. So it was the scene in which we were introduced to Brittany. Mm-hmm. That was the first time we ever saw her.
She's part of the DEA.
She was working for the DEA, and these weird alien creatures were trading these things that junkies can use to get high for cats, for kittens, and that's all we saw.
And it was random.
Yeah, that was it.
Super random, but we kind of figured it out. Yeah. I mean, we got it. We were like, oh, okay, she's with the DEA. It took us a while to figure it out.
Yeah.
Again, it wasn't explained to us.
And so we assumed, okay, that didn't really need that much explanation. But now here we have this alien coming back and shooting her up because, you assume because of what she did to them by stopping that deal. So here we have issue 8, and it starts off with Brit and Brittany talking about smoking and how she shouldn't smoke and everything like that, and then you turn the page and it pans out, and the entire corner of the hospital has been destroyed. There's alien ships and pieces of aliens all over the place, and
you know what? You are right. I'm reading a couple of these pages and these panels, and it's almost like every page is trying to speed up an explanation of what just happened.
Yeah.
In the last volume, so Brit says, "You've got to be kidding me," and then Brittany says, "I busted a drug smuggling ring, designer parasite fluids, muled in from out of the Crab Nebula. Turns out the terrorist syndicate put a price on my head." So it kind of explains that's what she did. She busted up this drug running project and what that thing was.
Yeah. So, last volume, it was world building. A lot of world building. It's just the way it happened was very confusing. But they're expanding on it in this one. So then we go to the Pentagon, and Brit calls Jessica, and Jessica is interrupted on the phone by her son saying "Mama," and you don't see his face, but she's shocked. So there we have something's wrong with Brit Jr. Brittany and Donald turn the corner, and Brittany finally gets a new costume. Or no, wait, did she have this one? No, this is when she gets her new costume. And she talks about how it's much better, less revealing, and how she's taking a vacation from the DEA, and Donald's in charge of keeping an eye on them. He's kind of like their handler. So now, next scene, we've got Brit and Brittany sitting with Donald in a diner. This diner comes up later on in this volume. But as we were just talking about, they answer some more questions here. Brit gives Brittany Becky. And because normally Brittany's the one that holds on to her. So Brit says, "I meant to return Becky to you." Now, last volume, we had all these questions about Becky. She was this electrical current that was used a couple times in that volume. We didn't know what she was. And here we have Donald flat out saying, "Okay, can somebody explain Becky to me? What is that?"
Again, another page, another explanation.
Flat out. Yeah. I feel like somebody, I don't know if Kirkman did or if Brown read responses or replies to things, but straight up like answering things
completely. But that's the thing, this feels so different from the last volume.
Yep. Brittany says Becky was a scientist. She was trapped in a superconducting super collider and somehow transformed into Higgs boson particles. She's pure energy. Most people say she looks like lightning. She needs to anchor herself to a mechanical devices, a taser, my cell phone, whatever. She's also my closest friend in the whole damn world.
Which is why she was in a cell phone the first time.
Yep. That's it. Right there in one panel. That's all we need to know.
One panel.
And it's awesome. And it's cool, too. Like, I'm not saying we need everything hand-fed to us, explained, but...
Now, do you think that you like this reveal more because you were so confused on what the hell she was? Or do you feel like you deserve it more in the second volume?
I think there's a fine line, because if I didn't care about Invincible or Brit or anything like that, I would have gotten frustrated and stopped and never got to this point. I absolutely would
have too. I wouldn't have.
You know what I mean?
The only reason why I wanted to finish Brit was because I wanted to see if the train wreck could somehow
correct course.
And
it did.
It did. It really fucking did. But I was shocked. I was like, okay, Brit, let's see what you got before I open it up. And when I was reading, I was like, oh. Mm-hmm. Oh.
And then this next page, last issue, quite possibly the most... what would you call it? Confusing, random thing to happen was a guy walking up to a security door, taking an eye patch out, and then a tiny hand came out of his eye socket
and then touched a tiny
panel to read that tiny hand. Anyways, that guy makes an appearance here, and he's we still don't, and I don't even think we do get an explanation in this volume.
This doesn't get explained at all.
But
what's happening?
We kind of find out that he works for a agency that was investigating stolen things, like if something gets stolen or whatever. And it's kind of maybe for the Pentagon, because they talk about the remember in volume 2 where that frozen thing reactor happened and everything was freezing. They talk about how somebody stole something that caused that. Somebody stole the cannon or the device that was going to fire Kid Fusion into the sun to restore him.
Yeah.
Bringing it back to that.
Yeah.
And that, so somebody's basically, they basically say somebody's trying to build a cannon that can shoot someone into another dimension. And that's all that page tells us. And the guy puts the pieces together and says, bloody hell, and then it cuts away to the people who are trying to build a cannon to shoot someone into another dimension, which is Invincible, Tech Jacket, and Wolfman.
And Robot.
Well, the Robot glove.
Yeah, the Robot glove, yeah.
These are the four, interdimensional traveler versions of them that came from that other dimension. Man, this volume is going to get tough to talk about who's who. Obviously, from now on, whenever we refer to Invincible or Mark, Tech Jacket, or Wolfman, these are all the alternate dimension ones that came at the end of Volume 2.
Our universe, Invincible,
is not in the rest of this.
Does not make an appearance in the rest of this at all.
Correct.
Now, I have a question for you, Ryan.
Yeah.
This guy that we were just talking about, that's part of that agency that had the little hand that came out of his eyeball, how do you know that that's him? Because this guy looks a lot younger. Does he has a black mustache, black hair, and he has...
Because the room that... It shows the guy that he's talking to in that room, and that room looks exactly the same. He has a mustache, and... Oh, you're right. He does look a lot younger. Never mind.
He's bald. But so, like, that's a little tiny hand that's coming out of his eye.
So you know what? Maybe
gray hair.
Maybe this is some agency that has agents that work for them that all have an eye patch, and in their eye patch they have something different. Because the one in Volume 2 had a hand.
Right. This guy has something that it connects to, like, the scope of a gun.
Yeah. But no matter what, they definitely work for the same company. You know?
They're talking to the same... Yeah, because look at his eyes.
Yeah, because that's the same guy.
He pulls off glasses and his eyes look all weird.
Yeah, that's a storyline that is never touched on. Unfortunately, that gets dropped. The only purpose it serves is that, somebody is on to, the ones who are building this thing in this dimension.
That sucks though that like Invincible didn't pull anything from this to kind of like touch on it, because this takes place in the Pentagon. Just a different part of it.
We think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think it's ever really clarified whether it's in the Pentagon or not.
All right, so explain then what exactly they're working on. So there's this person who is a girl who has boobs with a robot glove on.
Mm-hmm. That girl we come to find out is Brit's wife, the one who died in Volume 1. It's his wife from another dimension.
Right.
The same dimension as this Wolfman and, everything. So they're working on a cannon, a gun kind of thing that will fire them into another dimension. But we'll see more of them in a little bit. The next page has those two junkies that Brittany busted in the previous volume.
2, yeah.
And the one where he shot up in his arm, the blister from where he shot up is talking now. And
he said, "I ain't taking no more space crack. My wart has started talking."
Mm-hmm.
And it's screaming "Free Bird."
So they've got some of those aliens in their truck. You're assuming they're helping these aliens, for whatever reason. And they show up and they shoot up, kind of drive by Brittany and Donald. And so many B's. Becky leaves the taser and goes into Donald in this moment. Brittany throws Brit at the truck, destroying it, almost killing the two junkies, and they take out the aliens. One of them drops this pager thing. Brit picks it up, and it teleports them to the alien mothership that's hovering above Earth. This was such a cool scene because it just looked completely different than anything else we've seen. We see that inside these alien suits, they're actually two aliens. One that's the body, another that is the head, and they're two separate aliens. And it was just a really cool looking thing.
And they're all high as shit.
The whole thing is high. We get to see them. One of them, it looks like they're eating one of the kittens.
Well, it looks like he's smoking it. Or
it's like a bong.
Yeah, it's like a bong. It's like a cat bong.
Water.
Yeah.
Yeah. Weird. But anyways, I love how Brit says these assholes drove their ship into the moon and it's just sticking out of the moon. And he's like, I think everyone on the ship is stoned out of their mind. But they come across this enormous like aquarium tank, and in it is this alien creature that is, I think, like supplying the drug, right? Like, isn't that the mother?
Yeah, every fluid that she produces is a narcotic.
Yeah. And so Brittany destroys the tank, and they kill the creature, and the ship starts to, malfunction, and, it's going to explode. So they run to an escape hatch, like to this escape pod, cram in there with some aliens, one of which is copping a feel on Brittany, and jettison away from the ship before it explodes. Like, all that happened in like, 7-8 pages. And it was just really cool. You know what I mean?
And it totally connected to
everything that we have seen. You know, that moment of Brittany being introduced, them putting the bounty on her head. Yeah. Like the junkies.
I can't stress enough how the flow of this is much better.
It's not jumbled at all.
It's not syncopated or like you said like every other page was something weird going on like
previously.
that had nothing to do with the other page. This is very much like
cohesive.
Yeah, cohesive storytelling.
Exactly. Britt comes home. Jessica is on the floor crying.
Well, they had a date. That's why he's here. Before they were talking about a date.
Because he was late for the date because he was on the moon.
On the moon, yep.
And she's on the floor crying, saying that something is terribly wrong. I don't know what that thing is, but it's not our baby. And so now we do find out that the baby was, in fact, Brit Jr. was, in fact, kidnapped. And on this splash page, this final page, is Brit Jr. sitting on the floor.
Well, we don't know for sure that he was kidnapped, but if you're following along, obviously something happened. They took him, those people from Volume 2 that drugged Jessica. Mm-hmm. And he's got the long tentacle arm. Just looks like a Brit clone.
The same, tentacles from Volume 2. Issue 9, one of my favorite Ottley covers for Brit. It's a really cool looking cover. Again, the coloring is amazing too. Starts off with a nice moment between Potts and it's Bill or Ben?
Bob.
Or Bob.
It's Bob.
Miss Popper. Miss Popper and Bob sitting on the Great Wall of China. They have a nice touching moment, and Miss Popper sees a shooting star, and it's actually the Emperor who has arrived. And he basically scans for someone that he's looking for, and then flies away. Brit now is going to see Slitter, the villain from the previous volume, who was the one in charge of everything. All the cloning that was done.
The cloning pursuit.
And so he's here demanding to know what he did to his son. But, Slitter looks catatonic. He's just saying Brit, Brit, Brit over and over again.
Because he got hit with the gun, didn't he? The brain gun?
The brain gun. Yeah. And that, Brit gets frustrated and leaves. And it kind of ends teasing the fact that maybe Slitter isn't quite as catatonic as as it's leading on.
Which... we don't...
No, it's teased at the very end,
okay.
But it's just a loose thread. Yeah. It's not necessary to be tied up, but it's a loose thread. Or not a loose thread, it's just the way it is. But back at the Pentagon... Pentagon? Did I say Pentagon?
I don't know what you said.
All right.
Could have been.
Well, back there, Brit Jr. is in a box, in a glass box, and they're running tests on him and everything. And they confirm that it is not... it's not Brit Jr. It's not Jessica's baby. It's just designed to look like him, but there's no signs of his DNA.
Well, wait, who's this person?
Oh, you're right.
Cecil.
Yeah, but he was in the previous volume, wasn't he?
He may have been.
Yeah. Yeah,
but
he was.
This is the first time he's been in this one.
Yeah, first time in Volume 3. So we've got Cecil. Again, the more this goes on, the more it just feels like Invincible. You know what I mean? The more this just feels like an Invincible universe thing. So yeah, Cecil's talking to them. He's the one kind of explaining this. Jessica mentions the babysitters. No. Cecil's asking if you remember anything unusual. And she said she barely knows the neighbors. She vaguely remembers them visiting, but I thought we'd lost Brit. And so it's kind of explained that, yes, it was the neighbors that did this. Cecil pulls Brit aside and tells him that it's actually a clone of you.
It's not his son, but it's Brit. It's Brit's DNA.
Mm-hmm. So at this moment, Brittany tells Brit that there's something that we need to talk about, something you should know. I think at that moment she was going to tell him about their brother, right?
That's what I assume.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then there's an attack on the Pentagon.
And it's
lights
the Emperor.
Go flying, lights go flashing. Emperor phases in, immediately blasts Donald in half, grabs Brittany by the face, throws her through a wall, and Mrs. Popper gets Cecil, Jessica, and the baby out of there. And then Brit and the Emperor proceed to fight. The Emperor pretty much shuts him down pretty quickly and then grabs Donald and rips his head off. And then teleports away. Mrs. Popper comes back, brings Brit, gets Brit out of out from underneath the rubble. And this is when she explains to him kind of what's going on.
So what is going on? Because you find out more about
You tell me.
Mrs. Popper. So she knows all about him, which is confusing. And remember when she was teleporting and she teleported to another dimension? Oddly enough, we didn't know what that was about because apparently you can't do that.
Yeah.
Well, apparently she can.
Yeah.
So she's from that dimension originally.
Yep, the same dimension as that Tech Jacket, Wolfman, and Invincible.
Exactly, the same one, and with the Emperor. So that bastard's name is the Emperor, and you'll find that he's already jammed Donald's locator, but I know exactly where he's headed, and we have to warn them if he's coming, if it isn't already too late. So she's been in contact with the woman.
You know why? As she explains right here, because she's the one that has been supplying them with the parts needed to create that cannon thing that they're making.
Oh my goodness.
Thus,
tell us more.
Why?
Go on.
Thus being the one who caused that Ice Age reaction from Volume 2 that woke up that purple Brit clone. That random Ice Age that happened
out of nowhere
was explained because Mrs. Potts was the one that uploaded this virus that caused the system to go into that Ice Age meltdown thing. And that was a huge story beat that we didn't really understand until now. So now they want to they know where to go. So Mrs. Potts teleports them right into the thick of it. And isn't the Emperor already there?
Yeah, the Emperor's there and he's shooting. I love this panel of Wolfman carrying. What's her name?
I forgot it. I mean, we'll come across it. I forgot her name, but it's Brit's ex-wife. I want to say it's like Ashley or Susan. Is it Susan? I think it's Susan. I'm picturing him yelling Susan when she died in Volume 1.
Maybe it is. And if you look closely, because Wolfman is carrying her, jumping away. Donald saying this is totally not cool as the Emperor is holding onto his head and shooting like a laser beam at him. It hits Wolfman, who's knocked out, and the Emperor says, "Give me the device and I'll allow you to live out your days on this world." And this woman says, "Never." And see her hands?
Yes, both of her hands.
Yeah, she's got was her superpower. Yeah. But she had that superpower, right? Yeah. Because it was her and her new husband trying to save
Kid Fusion.
Yep. Oh, there it is. What the hell, Susan?
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah. So Brit sees that it's Susan. Brittany says, "What's going on here, Brit? Your ex-wife is dead." And she sees Brit and Brittany and says, "You." And then that's the Emperor takes that as an opportunity to shoot the robot gauntlet off of her hand.
Which is the device that they were using to transport between dimensions and everything like that in an effort to stop the Emperor. And he says, he doesn't want the device, he just wants it destroyed. And so he blows her whole arm off. Like, it wasn't just the robot portion of it. Her arm is gone.
That's true.
And then the Emperor fights them some more.
He destroys everything that they built.
Yeah, he just fucks them up, basically.
He just destroys.
He shoots, and this base that they had was on top of a volcano, and he shoots this beam into the volcano, causing it to start erupting, and, teleports away. Meanwhile, Brit is trying to, get everybody awake and drag them away from the volcano, and we don't know what happens. They're just, Mrs. Popper is practically unconscious.
Yeah, she's bleeding from the head really bad.
And Brit's telling her, get us out of here.
And then Cthulhu happens, and then it's a panel of just the volcano exploding.
Yeah.
And you not knowing what happened to them
in this issue. That's the last time we see them in this issue. But before this issue ends, maybe, I don't know, it might be my most favorite thing in this volume, but it might have to be my second favorite thing in this volume. Donald's head is in a glass jar in a museum of sorts, a collection, I guess you could say, of all these different things that the Emperor has collected. The Emperor approaches him, and you can see in this panel all these different things. We've got Octobos's head on this wall. We got this whole wall of mounted heads.
You've got the insect aliens. You have Battle Beast's head on the wall.
Yeah, the aliens.
Alien.
Yeah, aliens. Oh, well, Unopan, not necessarily an alien.
Savage Dragon.
Yeah, Savage Dragon.
Geldarian's helmet.
Battle Beast, yeah. Then in the back, on the wall, hanging from the ceiling, is a Viltrumite ship.
Where?
Behind that giant skeleton.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. There's a platypus, which was in the previous volume. Among all the, like, costume type things where all the, like, it looks like all the different armor. There's
the one guy, the skull faced dude.
Yeah.
What the hell is his name? Yeah.
Omnipotus. There's the furnace is over there. It looks like a Darkwing costume.
Oh yeah.
Like, it's so cool. It's so cool. I love that page.
I just was so like enamored by all the heads on the wall that I didn't look past it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Really cool. So you get all these references to the Invincible universe. And then the Emperor picks up the Donald head and says, "I've missed our conversations. It's been a long time, Donald." And then,
well, he says, "Where am I?" He says, "You're on another Earth in another reality, but this is your home now."
Mm-hmm. And then it's revealed as the Emperor's helmet is removed to be an old Brit
with a very long beard.
Mm-hmm.
He looks badass.
No, it looks really cool. So that brings us to issue 10. Issue 10 starts off with Cecil looking for the survivors of the volcanic explosion. Why would I call it a volcanic explosion? What else would you call that?
An eruption?
For survivors of the eruption. Thank you. But it turns out that they were on another Earth. Mrs. Potts, or Mrs. Popper, successfully teleported them. But she teleported them back to her home dimension, the dimension with the Emperor. So they're in some shopping mall. They're all there. Invincible, Wolfman, Tech Jacket.
Brittany.
Yep.
But this isn't like, what was shocking for me is that this isn't like an apocalyptic world.
Oh, no.
That the Emperor...
No, the Emperor he wants a peaceful world. He wants a happy, peaceful world, and everybody has to be compliant. Because as we see right here, all of a sudden these things come called micro screws, a swarm of micro screws start flying, and what they'll do is they'll burrow into the back of your neck, and they're basically mind control. What does it say? They transmit pacification broadcasts into your brain. The Emperor uses them to keep us safe and keep us in line. So that's why it's not really an apocalyptic world. I mean, he's not out to kill and destroy everybody.
He just wants to control everybody.
He just wants to control
everybody.
And
one of those mind flies hits Brittany.
Yep, she goes.
Brit's sister right in the back of the neck.
Yeah, she goes to use Becky and is surprised when she doesn't work because, as we know, like 2 or 3 issues ago, Becky jumped out of the taser and into Donald.
But then she jumped out of Donald.
Nope.
Or she's still in Donald?
Yeah, because when that happened, they pushed the button, got teleported to the alien ship, and it was never touched on again.
Oh, yeah.
This is how it's done right. You know what I mean? Give us a couple of issues where we're not sure what the state of it is, then surprise us with a moment like this. Like, oh, yeah, where is Becky? And you look back to think, oh, she teleported herself.
For some reason, I thought that she left Donald and was somewhere else. But no, you're right.
Yeah. So, Mrs. Potts, Mrs. Popper. Why do I keep calling her Mrs. Potts? Is that somebody?
Mrs.
Pepper
Potts.
I'm thinking Pepper Potts.
Yeah.
That's why.
Pepper Popper.
She pickled
peppers?
Pans? Pecker. Yeah.
Okay.
So, Mrs. Popper teleports them, and it says pop every time she teleports.
That's
so
why. That's why, yeah.
Teleports them to the underground, which is kind of like this, city, like overrun city, like this destroyed, bombed out shelter.
Look at this though. This city is the old city that was decimated. That we find out what happened to it because if you look in the background, there's a giant pillar, and it's all dark. So they're actually underneath of this new city that was built on top.
Oh, you think it was not built on top?
Yeah, because look, even in the other panel,
the underground,
and it's dark and there's lights everywhere, and it was bright a second ago. So,
do you see on the wall there's like the stamp that says resist and everything like that? But do you see next to that stamp that says resist? Do you see what those 3 posters have on them?
I can't make it out.
Here, look at it right here. They're robot heads. So with their posters of the side of Robot's face that says freedom. And as we know, Robot kind of had a part in this because he was on the gauntlet, the hand thing that Susan wore. And as we see on the next page, they're also the things that are taking care of Brittany, trying to extract the mind screw out of her neck.
Versions of Robot.
Yeah, they're versions of them. So it's cool that in this dimension, in this universe, Robot had a presence, but, not much.
Something
but
had
he
happened.
Did something. So yeah, this is also when we find out what happened to this world. What caused all of this. And
wait, what's the teleporter's name?
Mrs. Popper?
It is Mrs. Popper.
Right?
Okay, because I thought that we were wrong by calling her Mrs. Popper because she keeps making pop noises.
No, it's every time she did.
You were saying Potts, like Pepper Potts.
Yes,
Oh, okay, got it.
I kept accidentally calling her Mrs. Potts. Bill, you tell us what Zach has to say, because Zach, a.k.a. Tech Jacket, is the one that explains everything to Brit.
So he's while he's getting because he's operating on Brittany. He's trying to get the thing out. And he says, all of this is my fault. And Susan says, stop. Zach, stop. And he says, I disabled the tracker, but the mind screw is still receiving pacification broadcasts. Removing it would kill her. And then Brit says, my sister has some kind of goddamn radio antenna poking out of her neck. I think someone needs to start talking. Oh my gosh, this is amazing. This is so cool. It's such an amazing okay, all right.
I know,
I'm just gonna do it.
So
all right.
Cool.
So it shows. So Zach is explaining, and it shows a flashback of him getting the tech jacket onto him, and it says, "I tell myself that if I hadn't discovered that crashed Galderian scout ship in the woods, none of this would have happened. The tech jacket wouldn't have bonded with me, and the Galderians would have never followed the signal to Earth." The Galderians were a vicious race of conquerors. Once they discovered the Earth, they invaded. So in this reality, the Galderians are evil.
Kind of like Viltrumites.
Because as we know, the Galderians that we know are extremely peaceful and good people.
And it shows them fighting against the Galderians. And in this fight scene, we see Bulletproof wearing his classic costume. We see Dr. Immortal in the background. We see, is that Megamaid from Wolfman? Mechamaid, sorry. This ape-looking creature that takes a lot of space. Do you know who that is?
Yeah, that's the detective guy.
The detective, Demon Darkblood.
Yeah, and he's got his shirt off and a cape, and he's got
Yeah.
Wow, that's weird.
This alternate version of him. We see Duplicate getting messed up. We see Robot getting thrown around. Again, just some fun. There's a Donald fighting. Just some fun references. But
so then,
they defeated the Galderians, or at least almost defeated
them. But the costs were high. The whole, almost everyone was killed. The Earth looks just decimated.
Well, not quite yet. I mean, they fought them back, but then in their defeat, before they were defeated, the Galderians, used the Omega Jacket, which they call a planet killer. Yeah. And that's what released they call them plasma waves that basically nuked at least the entire country.
Everyone except for
Brit, one that can survive that.
The one. So the panel that it shows after it shows the Omega Jacket that's destroying the United States is Brit holding a skeleton, and then mounds of skeletons behind him, and of course Brit's naked because all of his clothes have been destroyed. Brit, the one of this world, was evacuating his wife when the wave hit Washington. He watched them all die. So he watched his wife die.
Everybody around
him die.
That's insane.
Earth's defenders made a last stand in Europe and combined their effort. With their combined effort, cracked its outer shell, referring to the
Omega Jacket.
And
I like how in this scene, Brit has a beard. A lot of time has passed. This war has been raging against this Omega Jacket. And they used that crack in his shell. Donald, of that world, of that universe, used that crack in his shell to find his way into the Omega Jacket to merge with him, thus killing himself.
Yeah, he says it's really cool how they said it. So then Zach said, and that's when Donald Ferguson saved the world. And he said, Brit, we're merging as he's merging with the Omega Jacket. I can shut it down. It's the only way. Zach says we had won, but the Omega Jacket completely absorbed Donald. He was gone. And it was one loss too many for our Brit. He snapped. He bonded with the empty shell of his dead friend, and the Emperor was born. And he says, no, never again. So the Emperor that is in this universe has a tech jacket on. Mm-hmm. Pretty much.
Yeah, it's this Omega super version.
But it's a tech jacket. But it's a tech jacket.
Tech jacket that's also Donald. Like, how cool is that?
Oh my gosh. And we all know what a tech jacket can do on a normal person like Zach.
Yeah.
It makes him a super powered,
now imagine somebody being like invulnerable underneath that.
Right. Plus having Donald.
Yeah.
As well.
So Zach finishes his story, and Susan, they kind of discuss their plan about how they think that the original Donald that sacrificed himself is still alive in there somehow, and they think that, the Donald head, will be able to wake him up, So after that, we get to see the Emperor, and they're sitting at their diner, the same diner that they were at earlier in this volume.
And he's acting like Brit.
Yes.
Which is so weird because you see him being like this crazy emperor dude shooting lasers, and then now he's just sitting here stuffing his face
with fries. And we've got Cecil walking around like a butler, of course, with a mind screw in his neck. And meanwhile, the Donald head is just sitting there like, okay, just kind of like playing along. Like, he knows this guy is kind of crazy, but, we're starting to get the impression that Brit, the Emperor Brit, brought Donald here just to kind of talk to and hang out with. And he kind of says that like later on. He talks about like, wanting to watch a movie and everything like that.
Just very like nonchalantly, like nothing's changed.
Yep. So they decided, the Resistance, Susan and all of them, decided to attack the pacification station.
Oh my gosh.
In order to, to get at, to distract the Emperor so that Brit can get in there and try to free Donald, the Donald head. Oh, this is so confusing. But anyways, so here we are at the pacification station, and this team is Wolfman, Tech Jacket, and Invincible, and Brittany. They're here making the distraction so that Susan
Brittany
and Brit
still has the
mind screw in.
Mind screw in her neck.
They were unable to take it out, otherwise it would cause too much damage. And they're here causing this distraction. And who's fighting them but Reanimen? So now we've got Reanimen of this world that are under the control of the Immortal. But that's not even the best thing on this page.
Wait, they're under control of the Immortal?
Jeez. Why do I keep calling it the Emperor? Yeah. Sorry. This is confusing. So hopefully everybody that's listening has read this or is at least reading along. But the Reanimen on this page isn't even the best thing.
Yeah, so Invincible gets shot at by something, and it's like, boom, like a bomb hits him from behind. And the next panel is Rexplode, Adam Eve, and Adam Eve is holding onto a chain.
Who's attached to Monster Girl. Now,
oh my God.
Yes, and...
I'm sorry, not their right names, but go ahead.
And then Rexplode, dressed in a completely different, like they all look completely different, and they look awesome. I posted it on our Twitter. Rexplode says, "Eat it, loser." Hexplode, Adam Shiva, and Monstrous Girl are on the job. Like, that's so cool.
Save the punching bag for me, hun, as Adam Shiva. Mm-hmm. So they're a thing.
Oh, yeah, because they make out in the next page. So Invincible says, the jerk who stole my girlfriend is mine. Tech Jackets refers to them as the Emperor's elite. Adam Shiva releases Monstrous Girl, and then Hexplode says, "Before we start killing, give me some sugar, baby." And they start making out while shooting. Like, it looks really cool. That page is so awesome. We've got
Rex's face is all scarred up and shit.
Adam Shiva has the red dot on her head. Monstrous Girl is charging at Wolfman like with a hammer.
If you've never read this, and if this sounds very interesting, unfortunately you have to read through volume 2, but it's worth it. Because this is so awesome. Yeah. Like, we all love the alternate Invincible stuff. Yeah. You know what I mean?
And that's what made this so awesome, is because they, like, Brit Volume 2 was getting into this weird sci-fi kind of stuff, but then Brit Volume 3 was like, okay, let's bring it back. What does everybody love? Alternate universes. Like, let's get into this other dimension. Let's take beloved characters and make them weird and twisted. Like, I'm not caught up on The Flash. I haven't watched, like, the last season and a half. I stopped watching it, but I was watching it when they started to go into the other dimension.
Earth 2.
Yeah, Earth 2 stuff. Like, that stuff is always so interesting to me. I loved this. It was so cool.
And the art was cool too. Like,
on top of that,
and the designs, like, they were just a little bit different. Like, Monstrous Girl looks awesome.
Yeah. She's all scarred up. She looks kind of like World War Hulk. Like, it's so cool. So the distraction, while the distraction's going on, Susan and Brit are underground, underneath his tower, going to sneak in, and they have a great discussion about how Susan lost her, her actual husband in the war, and just kind of like how her relationship was. Like, she hated the Brit of, that turned into the Emperor and everything like that, and
which is why she has some animosity towards this Brit.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. While this is going on, the Emperor is up in his, like, it's actually Donald's living room. He recreated it. Because remember, in the Emperor is Donald's memories and everything like that. And so he recreated it. And they're watching, like, videos of fights that they fought. You know what I mean? Like, all these battles. And he's just kind of reminiscing with this Donald, and this Donald's like, that wasn't me,
Yeah, there's this other part. I've got films from most of our fights. You remember that big Yeti thing?
Yeah.
He smashed you with the train first time you realized you were an android. Yep. That's not how it happened in... Is it how it happened in...
No, he smashed him with a helicopter.
Right, it was a helicopter,
he threw a helicopter
not a train.
At him or something like that, or threw something. Or did he throw the train at the helicopter and or Donald was in the helicopter?
Was it in that episode? In that issue that he realized he was an android?
That was in Volume 1.
Yeah, it was on the Yeti thing,
Yep, that was in Volume 1. And
here's where we see Becky's...
Yeah,
Becky's there.
So the Emperor gets called away because of the fight that's going on with his elite. And Donald's eye sparks, and he's like, "Quiet, Becky. I'm thinking of a way to get out of here." So he's got, like, this is awesome. We've got these characters that we now know. We know who Becky is. Mm-hmm. We know what's going on with all these characters. We know who the Emperor is, why he's doing what he's doing. Everything is clear, and it's really cool. So the Emperor goes away. Back to the fight with Hexplode. Invincible knocks him out. Adam Shiva gets knocked out by Tech Jacket, and Wolfman is sitting on top of Monstrous
Girl.
Like a dog.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like, they've officially defeated their elite squad, but the Emperor shows up and starts wrecking shop, but not before he activates Brittany's mind screw and says, "Kill the Wolfman." So
God.
Not only do we have alternate universe characters, but we've got heroes fighting heroes. And Brittany starts to beat the shit out of Wolfman. And she's saying, "I can't stop. Stop me. Please stop me. Wait. And she's just punching him over and over. So, back to Brit and Susan.
The palace that they're in.
Yep. They find Donald, who is trying to escape. And the building that they're in explodes because the Emperor realized that that was all a distraction. He showed up and has the standoff with Brit, over Donald's head, and that standoff is what leads us into issue 11 out of 12. So
that cover's not Ottley.
Oh yeah,
he did that cover.
Yep.
Really? Mm-hmm. Which is, it's the Emperor punching
so
Brit
huge
in the face.
Close-up. It's probably the biggest face you've ever seen.
And it looks like his jaw's like in slow motion punch mode. You know what I mean? Like he just got punched.
So yeah.
Is that a Galdarian?
Yeah. Yeah, this starts off with a Galdarian saying, "We are registering a disturbance in the heart of the host's spire. Intensify scans. I want to know the source." So they're still around. They're monitoring. So it's probably assumed that they're outside of orbit, just monitoring what's going on with the Omega Jacket. And meanwhile, both the Emperor and Brit are fighting. And he knocks him into a strip club. And it's just like everything else he's done. He's recreated, things from his memory because he's obsessed with making it his old life, making it before the Galdarians. Which, by the way, I forgot to mention, the first time they were in the diner, like in issue 2, the second issue of this, there was a Half-Life reference. 2 people sitting at the bar at the counter were the main character from Half-Life, the video game.
Gordon Freeman?
Yeah.
In which issue?
In the first time they're at the diner. Way back here. Right there. Turn the page. Right. Where is it?
I don't know. Oh, right there.
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
Yeah, they even have the symbol and everything like that.
Wow.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that.
It's from Half-Life 2. It's Gordon Freeman with his suit on, and then for the life of me, I can't remember the daughter of the
but that was issue 8. I forgot to bring that up.
Wow, that's kind of weird.
Mm-hmm.
That's so random.
Yeah.
Why?
Probably Nate. Nope, Nate Beauregard is probably a fan.
I wonder when did this come out?
This came out, I want to say late 2009. No, late 2008.
2008?
Yeah.
Was that Orange Box time?
Pretty close,
when,
I think.
Like Half-Life
that sounds about right.
2 and then the episodes.
Yeah.
1, 2. Yeah, maybe.
But yeah, little Easter egg there.
Weird.
Mm-hmm. But anyways, in this strip club, Brit confronts the Emperor, telling him how he's sick for basically having, because the girls continue to dance regardless of all the fighting and disaster that's going on around them. And he basically calls him out saying that he's enslaved these people and they're just mindless drones,
Mm-hmm.
And they continue to fight. Meanwhile, Brittany has all but destroyed Wolfman's face.
Oh my God.
You can't even really see his face. It's just a bloody pulp. And Invincible is pulling Brittany off, and he's calling for Tech Jacket to help. But Brittany's telling Invincible to stop her.
She's saying, "Stop me, stop me, stop me," over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm. And she's like, "I'll kill you if you don't stop me. Hit me harder." And she kicks Invincible, saying, "Sorry, I never fight fair." And she picks up Tech Jacket.
Because he can't move. He's disabled. Whatever the Emperor hit me with, I can't move.
Yeah, she picks up Tech Jacket. She slams him into Invincible. She's continuing to beat the shit out of even them. And then Wolfman, whose eye is popping out of his head, Thrag style, it attacks
He's
Brittany
just blood.
from behind.
The top of his like.
It just looks like red fur.
Yeah,
it's and he attacks Brittany from behind and pulls the mind screw out. So
does he? Oh,
yeah,
he does.
He rips it out. He says we have to get her to the underground facility. Hopefully, our distraction was enough. So that's it for them. They managed to make it work out. Then Brit and the Emperor continue fighting. They crash into what Brit says was his father's study. And it looks really cool. It's very old-fashioned. There's a lot of antique things and sciencey things around. And Donald head even says, "Your father was a scientist, archaeologist?" And Donald says, "Quiet, Becky." So that was Becky asking, "Was your father a scientist or archaeologist?"
Oh, talking through Donald?
Yeah.
Cool.
And Brit says something like that. And he says that the Emperor has turned his entire life into a museum. And that's it. That's all.
It shows a picture.
And it shows a picture of, you're assuming, his father,
and
a boy,
Brittany
and a girl.
and Brit.
Mm-hmm. And we don't get any more on that until the end of this volume.
Well, wasn't it a one-off too?
Yeah, it was
or
kind
was
of,
it part of
like
the?
yeah. And they continue fighting. They continue crashing down through levels and levels. And they get the idea to attach the Donald head to a tank. He connects to the circuit boards of that tank and proceeds to fight the Emperor with that. And that's kind of enough to get the upper hand. Brit continues to fight him. And all the while, like, Brit is, like, really laying into him, like saying things like, you know, you've become everything we've hated. How many idiots have we fought exactly like you? You know, what would you tell your wife? You know, that you killed all the monsters only to take their place? Could you even face her? And
it's funny. He's like, you become everything we hated. He's like, you're even wearing a goddamn cape.
So, meanwhile, Becky's still talking to Donald, and
Donald's jacked up. He's just like a robot head.
Yeah, he's just and he's she said, what is it? Donald says, Becky's hitchhiking my head. I think she's been there since I tasered myself with her. It was an accident. Becky wants to know what the original plan was to stop the Emperor, and Brit says that they were going to kidnap the Resistance. The Resistance was going to kidnap you. And they thought that you could connect and wake him up, the original Donald that's inside the Omega Jacket. And Donald says that it's worth a try, and they think that they should still do it. And asks Brit to throw him at the Emperor. So he does, and Becky actually zaps into the Emperor to kind of connect with that Donald. Because again, this weird taser lightning bolt thing that we had no idea what it was connects with electronic devices. So what does it do? It transfers from the Donald head into the Emperor and starts to separate, you know, himself from the actual Omega suit. And he says, like, Brit starts talking to him, saying, "This is your chance to
let go."
To let go. You know, he says, like, I mean, the Emperor says, "I watched Jessica die. Do you understand that? She burned. The only thing I could do was hold on to her ashes."
That was amazing. He said, "My chance, I watched Jessica die. Do you understand that? She burned alive, screaming my name, and the only thing I could do was hold on to her ashes. This is what I have left." Could you imagine that? Could you imagine?
No.
Imagine if you were indestructible and Katie was dying and burning alive in front of you. What could you do? That's insane.
No. And then, but Brit responds to him saying, you know, wearing your best friend as a bearskin, torturing the people around you who remind you of who you were, torturing yourself by living in the tomb of the memories, let it go. And they have this moment where he's basically saying, like, I am you. You have to do this. And he tells him that he has a son. He has a wife. You know, him and Jessica have a son who's in trouble, that something's happening to him. Do you want them to die? Do you want, I'm not going to go back. I'm not going to doom this world. I'm not leaving until you give up. And convinces him to kind of release the Omega Jacket. And he does.
And he's this skinny...
Yeah, he's the skinny, long-haired, frail-looking old man. And then the Galdarians, it goes back to their ship, and they're saying the signal is split. The Omega Jacket has separated from the host. I think they're trying to reconnect to it.
Yeah,
right?
They say decloak and enter the atmosphere. This will be the only time it's vulnerable. Prepare to fire, destroy the Omega Jacket, but do not mark the planet. This will be the new throne world of the Empire. Because what we kind of glazed over was Brit from the Emperor. The first thing he did when he melded with that tech jacket was went and destroyed the Galdarians.
Yes.
Their homeworld. He destroyed it and decimated it. So these are survivors that want to then claim Earth for their own.
Yep. So Donald is still in the Omega Jacket, and he's kind of like this ball talking to them now and says, you know, what is going on? I remember Paris. Did we win? Why are there two of you? And he's all confused. And the long-haired, you know, Emperor Brit says, access your files marked Emperor. We have a lot to talk about. And then Donald says, Brit, what did we do? You know? And
oh, no.
Yeah. And so the Galdarians show up in space, and the Emperor fuses again with the suit, you know, with the Omega Jacket.
And Donald.
You know, and that Donald, not our Donald, of course, and kind of view this as an opportunity to kind of right their wrongs and, you know, fly at them. So he flies towards them, kind of converts into this giant gun, and destroys their ship. thus saving them. And they decide to leave. They decide not to go back to Earth, and they want to they want to keep going off and hunting any Goldarians that they could find. And I think that's awesome. Like that's awesome. So we got this villain that this kind of, what is it? Not confused, but he was just a broken villain, you know, a very good villain who goes and like kind of turns good in the end, goes on this, you know, vendetta against the Goldarians. And they, Brit tells Susan, don't show up on my world again. And he goes back because he wants to go back to his son, who is still, you know, like
last we saw him was
still we don't know what's going on. He's
creature.
Still kind of that squid creature. And at this point, they've announced that issue 12 will be the final issue. They announced it at the end of issue 11, I believe, saying like, yeah, it's going to be ending, you know, due to some poor sales. And it just was, Kirkman says that ultimately there were a lot of delays, and he thinks that really affected the issue, or the sales and everything like that. So, the issue ends with them back at the Pentagon.
We see that guy.
Yeah, we do.
That's the guy that had the weird eye.
This is Mr. Henry. He's with Internal Security. We're going to have to take you into custody. So
Internal Security of the Pentagon?
But he doesn't have the eye patch on.
He didn't have an eye patch on.
Yeah. Oh, maybe
he didn't have an eye patch on. His eye was just like cyborged and attached to the scope. Yeah.
Anyways, they're with Pentagon Internal Security, and they take Mrs. Popper away because, you know, she was the one that stole from them and everything like that. And
she's from a different dimension. She's not even of that world. Yeah.
So they take her away for questioning. Meanwhile, Brittany is in recovery, and
she's saying, "Britt, your son, our brother," and he's saying she's babbling. Can you just make her more comfortable, because she's in like stasis, babbling. She's saying, "Your son, our brother."
Yeah. Britt goes to check on Jessica, and he walks in talking to her, but she's not the one that responds. And some creature says, "Quiet, she's resting."
Oh, that's creepy as hell.
Yeah. And it shows Britt Jr. as this purple tentacle baby saying, "Surprised to hear your dead brother's voice coming from your son. Your son is with me, Britt, and unless you do exactly as I say, he dies."
The art looks really good. It's still the same artist?
Yeah.
Throughout the entire volume, right?
Nate Beauregard. Yeah, like especially like look at this one, the beginning of, I mean the cover again, Ottley. The cover for issue 12 is very fitting for this being the final issue. This issue was outstanding. I loved this issue so much. So Jessica wakes up with Britt fighting this beyond grotesque version of his son that's morphed into this.
It's not even close to looking like a human anymore. It's just
And then he tells him where to go. And he says, be there in exactly 2 hours or the boy dies, and explodes into this bloody mess covering Jessica. And she's like, "I just can't take this anymore." She tells Britt to go get our son back, find him. And then we see Britt in a ship flying as fast as he can with Donald, and he crashes the ship straight into the ground. And it looks like they're in like Antarctica or somewhere.
Yeah.
Somewhere like that. And he crashes it into the ground because he has like seconds to be where he needs to be, you know, in that 2 hour time frame. And the ground opens up and he falls into this underground shelter, this bunker. And in this chair is his brother.
Euclid? It's Euclid.
I know that's a name. I've seen it before.
Euclid?
I have no idea how to pronounce it.
Euclid?
Shit.
Perhaps.
You know what? 1 second. Okay, we had to look it up. It's pronounced Euclid.
Or Euclid.
Or Euclid.
We just went back to not knowing. It's Euclid.
It's Euclid.
Yeah.
Like eucalyptus.
No, like you and then Clid.
Yeah. Euclid.
Euclid.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing. Some people pronounce it with like the letter, like it's actually oo, like Euclid.
Euclid.
Where are they from?
Who? Brit and them?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I don't remember.
It might be.
It's old. I mean, obviously, they're really old. We'll find out in the end of this. But anyways, Brit shows up and he's like, what is this all about? And it's what it's always about, Euclid says. It's him being jealous. Brittany has power. You have power. I have nothing. In what
except
right
for
and proper
life.
world should you have the gifts of a god and I end up like this? And then, but Britt even says it. He says, you've lived a long life. You've lived longer. I mean, he's still aging, but, maybe just slower because he looks like an old man.
Yeah, he has the power of long life, just not
as long.
Not super powered or invulnerable. He has no powers.
Yeah. But he finally found the serum. Like, he finally found it, and it's in your son's blood, he says. And he wants to try it on himself. He said he took the transfusion from his son, days ago, and it's already working. He can feel it. And that he called Brit there to pick up his son. And Brit Jr. is laid out on like an operating table, like this giant table.
Strapped down
everywhere. Tons of straps and everything like that. And he's crying, and Brit is on top of him trying to...
Oh my God, this part.
Yeah,
dude,
this whole
part.
thing. Like, that's what I mean. This was so good.
All right, let's tell everyone what's going on.
So he's ripping off all these restraints off of Brit Jr., and he's trying to break him free. And then all of a sudden the machine turns on.
What machine?
And there's this giant plate, the same size of the table, that's above them, coming down towards them.
It's like a hydraulic press.
Yes.
That slowly is coming down.
Yep. And Euclid says, you better hurry now. You've set off the countermeasures. And he's like, he's saying, like Brit's saying, please God, please don't cry, son. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. I'm here. Daddy's here. Don't be scared. And he's telling Euclid to shut it down. And Euclid's like, what's that, brother? Did I hear you say you can't do something, that you need me to do something? And he's like, that's music to my ears. And the thing
he puts his feet up.
Oh, yeah.
And watches.
He's not stopping this. And it continues to press. And Brit is saying, I can't stop it. I'm not strong enough.
Oh, my God. This page. All right.
Because, as we've talked about, even on, the other, episodes of this podcast, Brit doesn't have super strength. He's just invulnerable. And so this thing is pressing. And it's pressing. And he's saying, I won't leave you, son. I'm not going anywhere. Someone please help me. Someone please help me. Look at me, baby boy. Look at me. I'm so sorry. I love you so much. I love you. You're everything I ever wanted. You're perfect. Here's Daddy. Everything's going to be okay. Daddy's here. And he's... And
there are panels. Every time he's saying something, it's a panel of him getting closer and closer to his son. And he's going to crush him.
Yes, he who is immortal is going to crush up against his son, who's not indestructible,
right?
And he's not leaving him.
And he whispers in his ear, Daddy's here.
And then you turn the page and it's just the press going
all the way down.
Yep.
All the way down.
And you see Euclid, who's like laughing to himself, and then he realizes, oh my God, I didn't think I could shut it off. Maybe they're still alive. Maybe I could just... And the machine, he tries shutting it off, but the machine instead smashes further into the ground.
Keeps pressing further and further down.
And he's like, brother, please forgive me. And then the machine explodes. And Brit stands up with his son in his arms saying, not likely, in this giant splash page.
Oh, because he says, forgive me. Like, that's what...
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
the boy's fine. He's all right. And his brother said, he's like, yep, good as new. And then he says, even better. He takes Brit Jr. by the ankles and smacks... Euclid across the face with his son.
Mm-hmm.
And then...
Like a baseball bat.
Like a baseball bat.
Swings him.
Yep.
And,
let's call Uncle Donald and get out of here. Your mother is going to be beside herself when she sees you. And then he says, boogie, and picks Brit's nose.
Mm-hmm. So...
After being used like a baseball bat. Now, if you guys have not read this, but you've read Invincible, obviously, you're familiar with the part where Brit puts his son in a rocket boot.
Yeah, one of his rocket boots.
Right.
And fires him through robot.
Yeah, through robot. So that happened, obviously, after this happened, which is pretty cool.
Oh, yeah. But, man, that scene That scene of him.
That scene was super emotional, man. So because you could just.
The thing that kind of sucks is we have read Invincible. We do know that.
Yeah, but even still, it makes your stuff just with him. What he's saying, he's like, "Look at me, look at me. Daddy's here. I'm here. I love you." See, even now we're affected by it, and we've read this. We've read everything. Ugh.
Yep. Back at the United States Pentagon, which, by the way, the same panel that's always drawn for the Pentagon, that always looks the same with the sign, with parking in the rear, with the Pentagon behind it, is the first time I've ever seen something change in it where there's a squirrel on top of the sign.
There is a squirrel. And as you were talking, I was thinking to myself, look at the squirrel right there.
I have no idea. Right there. I don't know if it's just because it's the end and it's just like, hey, here's a little squirrel for you. It's just kind of random.
Here's another weird thing that won't make any sense. Yeah. Question it.
So we got a family meeting. Everybody's happy, getting together. Brittany is okay. Turns out she's fine. Cecil says that they're transferring Euclid to an isolation wing, highest security. He Cecil tells Brit to take the week off. Then we get a page of Donald flying home, and we've got Donald's wife being clearly just upset, saying things like, "This just isn't working. I've made up my mind. There's nothing you can say or do. We're getting rid of that damn dog."
And it's the dog. It's the pug.
It's the pug
that Brit
was in the car in the first issue of this volume, and then you see Donald's eyes spark, and Donald says, "Quiet, Becky." So Becky's still in Donald, which means that Becky has been in Donald all throughout Invincible.
Oh, I wonder if there's anything in it that we should go back and...
I don't think there is.
I don't think so either. I think we would have noticed maybe a spark or something like that. Because we would have questioned, like, wait, why did he just say quiet Becky or something about Becky?
Yeah. But that's kind of an interesting thing. And I don't know if it's just something that'll never be touched on, but Becky's still in Donald. And that's where that storyline ends. Back to Brit's household. They order pizza, and they're sitting down around the dining table, and Jessica's kind of harassing Brit a little bit about him never telling her that he had a brother. And he's like, "You know what? You're right. I deserve to tell you all of it. Tonight, we'll sit down. No more secrets." And then we see the asylum, Black Forest Asylum, and there's Slitter. And then as Euclid is passed by Slitter, Slitter goes from saying bruh, bruh, bruh to Euclid. And then you see Euclid say, "All according to plan."
So if they knew that this was the last issue, why make a cliffhanger?
Kirkman did say that he'd love to
come back,
use these characters again. And it's this is one of those cliffhangers where, maybe he's out there. Maybe he's going to keep trying to do something. Maybe he'll break out. It's kind of like Doc Seismic. He's going to get out. He's going to do something again. It's just going to show that maybe Euclid had something to do with Slitter getting in there. Maybe they were working together a little bit.
He obviously did, because Euclid cloned Brit the DNA, and that was the whole squid monster thing.
Yeah, you're right. They were working together.
Yeah,
it's just the way his face looks it's almost as if he wants to be in the asylum.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I mean, then again, doesn't he have super strength?
No,
he did say that he feels the serum working.
Yeah, he started to feel the serum working. But he had Brit's powers, which is invulnerability, not super strength. That's Brittany.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, wait a minute.
He did say...
He said he just had the original serum, which had a different effect on Brittany, had a different... Well, we'll find out right here.
Yeah. So that is where the issue ends. That last issue was co-written by Bruce Brown and Robert Kirkman. But at the end of this issue, there is, at long last, the secret origin of Brit. And this was 100% written by Robert Kirkman. So it starts off with, Brit and Brittany deciding to sit down and talk.
Brit and Jessica.
No, not Brittany. Sorry, yeah, his wife, Jessica. To finally sit down and talk, because he had never told her that he had a brother or anything like that. And Jessica says, "I don't even know how you became invulnerable." And he says, "Okay, well, we'll start there." And we get this flashback. And Brit says, "There was an accident when I was young. I was injured and my mother died." At the time, he was an only child. My father wasn't there. He returned to find us that way. And it put his dad into this deep depression that just completely overwhelmed him. He said that he vowed to never live through anything like that again. So his dad came out of this depression and he was a scientist. He was a genius. He had said that when he saw a problem he wanted to fix, he would teach himself how to fix it, and he invented solutions. And they traveled all over the world and tried to find, different like materials and things to make this like super soldier serum, essentially. Yeah. And Brit's dad used it on Brit, and it actually worked. And that's how he got his powers. He didn't get
cool. It shows him. Yeah, he didn't get super strength or anything like that. Mm-hmm. That was the only thing, was that invulnerability.
Yep.
And then he did the only thing that he could do with that power, enlisted in World War I. Obviously, because there's gas masks on, so there's the trench warfare. Yep. Mm-hmm. Very cool. He told the doctors that he was born with it.
Yep.
Or born that way.
Yeah. And then he joked that being named Brittany made him taught him to grow up tough. And I love that panel of him. It looked like he's jumping out of a biplane.
Just like he does now.
Yeah, onto another biplane in the war. And
typical, using his body as...
Mm-hmm. Britt goes on to say that his dad remarried, and...
they had twins.
Yeah, they had twins, who we know as Brittany and Euclid.
Who are much younger than Brit.
Mm-hmm. He said the marriage didn't last. He didn't love her. He never did. And but he was still very much... he still very much cared for Brittany and Euclid. Around that time, he found he had a new version of the serum, a perfected version, because he wanted them to be safe as well. It worked completely on Brittany, not only giving her the invulnerability, but also stopping her aging almost completely and giving her super strength.
And do you notice that what it says there too, with a small side effect?
Yeah, it's minor side effects. What is that?
Although there were minor side effects, see how she's looking at her hair?
Oh, it's her white hair.
Yeah.
So it even explained why she has white hair.
Because she has brown hair right here, or it's blonde.
Oh, you're right.
Yep. And then it turns white.
So that's why she's young with really white hair.
She's like super cute, and she has not aged at all. She looks...
She almost looks exactly the same, yeah.
Yeah, she looks like a teenager, yep.
Mm-hmm. And apparently on Euclid, it didn't work at all. It had zero effect on him.
Not even a little bit. So I was wrong. So Euclid...
That is how old he is.
That's just how old he is.
Probably in his 90s. Like, he looks really old. And so they eventually kept fighting each other. Like, Euclid was, like, kind of became, like, their...
a super villain.
Their villain. And they fought him several times. It said that Euclid inherited all of his father's genius, but none of his compassion. And...
I would be pissed too. Yeah. If your brother and your sister both got superpowers.
And Jessica asks, why did your father die? Why didn't he take the serum? And Brit said that, we used to joke that he used us as guinea pigs, and that if he's honest, his father would have gone crazy, wait, if I'm honest, my father had to have gone a little crazy when my mother died. All the things he did weren't exactly rational. Who knows why he did any of the things he did? It's not like a whole hell of a lot of sense made. But anyways, he goes on to say that I don't think he loved her so much. He didn't want to live forever without her. Maybe dying was worth the small chance that he might actually get to see my mother again. So here's Brit's father, who had the serum to live forever, chose to die to be with his wife again. And Jessica says, that's so sad. Oh my God, could you ever love me that much? And Brit says, honey, I already love you more. And he says, no more secrets, no more surprises. That's it. And they go to bed. And that's it.
That's how it ends.
That's how it ends.
So for those of you who did not know what Brit's,
we talked about
origin
in the volume 1 of this Brit discussion about how we don't know Brit's origin. Mm-hmm. We don't know how he got his superpowers. we can go back and listen to what we thought after Volume 1, what we thought after Volume 2. Here we are at the end of it. Was it worth it?
Yeah.
You know, are you satisfied with Brit as a character?
Yeah, I appreciate Brit and his family that much more. And you have a way more of an understanding of the character, too, like that he's just invulnerable. Because for some reason, why did it seem like he maybe wasn't an Invincible? You know what I mean? Like, we were confused about it. This does a really good job of, like, no, he just throws himself at bad guys. And, like, he attaches a bomb to his chest and, like, drops himself into, you know what I mean? Like, it does a very good job of, like, showing what he can and can't do. And then his sister, Brittany, who's awesome. Like, she's super funny. Donald. I mean, if anything, you get so much more of Donald and his family and his origin story.
And just like we get to see Invincible and how the other universe Invincibles tell us a story about, you know, a part of Invincible that we might not really see. I think getting to see the Emperor told us a lot about Brit. You know what I mean? Like, about his family and how he views people around him and what he would do in a situation in which everybody was ripped away from him.
Very much like his father, if you think about it. Like, overtaken by grief and would do anything to, you know, get that feeling back. Like, it makes sense. It's in his genes. It's in his blood, you know? So
from here... Kirkman said after this was canceled that he'd love to bring Brit back. This isn't the end of him. And he did, in a way, through Guarding the Globe, which is the series that came out. It's a 2-volume series that later became Invincible Universe. That is also 2 volumes.
Which, did you read?
Oh, yeah. I read those issue to issue when they came out.
And now is Brit pretty prominent?
Brit is very prominent in both of those.
And Donald... Is Becky in it? Or not Becky,
I don't
Brittany?
remember a lot. I don't think so. I don't remember a lot of those, but I'm excited to tackle those next. I know next up is probably going to be, I mean, we're going to finish Astounding Wolfman. We've got Tech Jacket to talk and everything like that, but soon we'll be talking Guarding the Globe, Invincible Universe, and everything like that, and we'll find out more about Brit. But I thought Brit is absolutely, completely worth reading. I thought it was a lot of fun.
The second volume.
Second volume's a little rough.
You're not alone. Yeah. If you're reading it and you're like, what the fuck am I reading right now? You're not alone. Just get through it. And
everything becomes worth it. You know, there are a few things we never found out more about.
Who that sock head guy was, that crazy guy?
Name?
I don't know. Like we called
Bent?
him.
It was Bent something.
No, it was Abe.
Yeah.
Something.
But anyways, that guy, that kind of Deadpool, Deathstroke kind of guy, we never found out more about him. His mask was taken off.
Yeah,
Brittany said, "You look like," and then that was all we got.
So could we assume that it was just another Brit clone?
That's kind of what I thought.
But
yeah,
we'll never. We will literally never know.
Unless
so we
it did
can make
come up
it
with something else, but I don't think it did.
No, I don't remember.
But there weren't many casualties to the to the cancellation. Other than that, and maybe the agency that had the things in their eyes. Other than that, that was pretty much it.
Oh yeah, because Mrs. Popper got taken away.
Yeah,
but she was an she was an early Invincible.
She was Invincible after that issue came out. I think.
Are you sure?
Close. She was in Invincible 60. So it will. No, it was after that because I want to say these came out right around Conquest, and that was after 60.
These came out during Conquest?
Right around that time period,
wow.
I think, because FCO was coloring this, I want to say around the time he was coloring in Invincible.
No shit.
Yeah. Not 100% on that, so don't hold me to it. So that does it. That does it for Brit Volume 3. Hopefully this was enjoyable to you guys, especially if you've read along or if you've read it before. Again, totally recommend it, especially for Volume 3. Volume 1 was awesome in itself, too. Mm-hmm. Some great Invincible tie-ins. I think it definitely expanded the Invincible universe, if only to show us alternate universe characters and everything like that. But I enjoyed it. Let us know what you think. Bill, thank you for joining me for this one.
Yeah, thanks
Feels
for
good to kind of wrap up.
Just be done with it.
Just to wrap up something. So we'll be back in 2 weeks, hopefully with New Reader Volume 11.
Oh, my gosh. And then they'll be
and then they're right just about caught up. So close. So thanks again for listening, everybody. Have a good night. Bye.
Bye. Katie, can you say welcome to Americana? Please make your selection, followed by the pound sign now. Katie, don't close the door. Katie, come on.